B'Shem Hashem, Na'aseh v'Natzliach. Thank you for coming. We are in Sefer Olam Hamidot, in the section about Olam has Simcha, happiness. And we are at the segment that talks about making others happy. Okay? Our Chachamim say in the Pirkei Avot. Okay, Pirkei Avot, the third chapter, it says, "Veheve mekabel et kol ha'adam besimcha." The person should greet every person with simcha, with happiness. Rambam says, in his commentary there, he says this, that the Mishnah is saying, is more than what the Mishnah said previously in the first chapter. Over there, it tells you Shammai. One of the things that Shammai said in the first chapter was that you should greet everyone besever panim yafot. What does it mean, sever panim yafot? It means pleasant countenance. That you should meet people with, like, a nice, pleasant meeting. This is with simcha, Rambam says. And if a person wants to try to do this Mishnah, right, then that means he meets everyone and he meets them with happiness. Then he will have an inner happiness, inner joy as well. Why? Because the outside behavior invokes an inner behavior as well. What you do on the outside, when you act happy, when you act towards other people with happiness, then you will have an inner joy as well as a result. It says, besides that, when a person makes other people happy, he feels good. He feels an true inner happiness, that he is able to make someone else happy, bring a smile onto someone else's face. I'm sure you heard this from about Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. He says that a person's face is a public domain, right? Because you're out there. Everybody's looking at you. And if you have a sad face, he says, you know what that is? That's considered a bor b'reshut harabim. One of the 4 categories of damages, right? You have a cow that attacks people. You have shor, you have keren, regel. You have different things. You have fire that could go out and damage. One of the categories of damages is called a bor b'reshut harabim. You dig a hole in the ground and you don't cover it, and someone falls into that hole and dies, you're liable for it. Or he gets damaged, you're liable for it. Says Rabbi Salanter, a person who has a sad face, he's a bor b'reshut harabim, he's damaging other people. Right? That's what he says. People see you, they get depressed. You're damaging them. Right? It's real. Rabbi Salanter says this.
What about being fake?
Being fair?
Fake.
That's good. Fake is good. That's what he said. Put a smile on your face. We're going to get to that. We're really going to get to it now. He says if a person has a sad face, he's a bor b'reshut harabim. He's damaging other people. He says that's why you always need to show a happy face. He says, and when a person does that, he's making a root of happiness, inner happiness, inside. He says, I overheard one time, something to explain this. He says there was this person, not a true story. This person that wanted to get married, and no one wanted to marry him because he had a sad face. No one wanted to marry him. So what did he do? He created a mold onto his face that he should always look like he's smiling.
That's true, though.
And then, and then what happened was, Baruch Hashem, he found the shidduch and he got married. After a couple of years, he removed the mold and he was actually smiling. The contour of his face changed. Right? and that's it. So it's a good shtick. It's a good trick. It's fake. Okay, hopefully it'll affect him, to change his attitude, to change his behavior. He says, but sometimes the person is really sad. Sometimes the person is really depressed for whatever reason, right? And when he meets someone, it's very hard for him to put a smile. It's very hard for him to change his attitude. Because a person, What's the real reason? Because the person is very stubborn, and he wants to stay in that mode. He says, now it's my sad mode. I want to stay in my mode. Like, I'm not going to switch just because I just passed by this guy. So he has a hard time. He has a very hard time changing his attitude. What should he do? He says, look, he has to try and be kovesh his yetzer and conquer his yetzer hara and break his midot and listen to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says you have to greet everyone with simcha. He has to work on that. He has to fight it. He says, and you know what? The truth is, many times when a person does that, he's not going to go back to his depression after that, because it'll stay. Because the truth is, he has no reason to be depressed. It's just that he's drowning in his own feelings. Right? Once he comes out of it and he opens his eyes, then he's not going to want to go back to what he was before. Baruch Hashem, look at me, I'm smiling, it's good, everything changed. And that's a big yesod. That's a very important foundation for a person that finds himself in a state of despair, in a state of depression, right? Don't give in to your yetzer hara. Don't give in to your yetzer hara. Don't, sometimes you say, oh man, I'm not in the mood, I'm just going to go to sleep, right? Wait a minute, you have to go to work. You have things to do. He goes, no, I can't. He says, don't let yourself fall into that trap. Get yourself out of it and go do your things. Do whatever it is you have to do, and you have to fight it, right? And you'll see, within a short span of time, you're going to be free from that yetzer hara. That yetzer hara is going to let you go. The atzvut, Ari HaKadosh says, it's a state of being. Atzvut means depression. It's a state of being. It's a state of mind that a person is able to snap out of it. It's just that people like to remain in their feelings. They like to cling to the feelings that they're in. They think it's more comfortable, but at the end of the day, it's a very, very uncomfortable state of mind for a person to be in. Like, it makes a huge difference. But if a person chas v'shalom listens to his yetzer hara, and he just lets go of all the chores, all the things that he needs to do, all the things that he has to take care of, then you know what's going to happen? It's just going to feed itself. It's going to feed itself. He's going to be more sad. He's going to be more depressed, more deeper and deeper. He's digging a deeper hole. You know what? He's going to be even more depressed because he's depressed. That's what's going to happen. Now, while we're talking about this, a person also has to be very careful, because he's trying to serve Hashem, not to put a damper on other people's moods. He wants to be a tzaddik, he wants to do the right thing, but that doesn't give him the right to make other people sad. Right? We're still in the thing of happiness to others. There was a story with a yeshiva boy, yeshiva man, that he would fast, once a week, twice a week, he would fast. So Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, he was a yeshiva in Kultur, in Beit Vegan. He was one of the big poskim of the generation. So he told him, listen, tell me, when you are fasting, how is your mood? How's your mood? In comparison to when you eat. And when you get home, right, are you besimcha? Are you happy? Or are you like weak and you snap easy? Because if that's the case, that you snap easy because you're hungry, then all of your taniot that you're fasting is worth nothing. It doesn't do anything. You want to do teshuvah, you want to get closer to Hashem, all of them are worthless. Right? That's how it is. And it's the truth. When a person is tired, right, and he has a hard time to control himself, and he could get angry easy, so it doesn't do anything. You want to grow, you want to get closer to Hashem, but at the same time you're stepping on other people, you're getting angry at other people, you're making other people angry. What does it do? What does it help? Right? That's why he says a person has to watch himself to make sure that he's happy, he's good. Because when you're healthy, not happy, when you're healthy, that makes you happy. And when you're happy, you make other people happy.
How can you tell that to a person? I have
If a
seen
person
that
who is
people-
always angry, it would be very hard to tell that person such a thing, because he's going to get angry at you,
But they're good people.
and
They're
they could
good
beat you up.
person.
It's true, yeah. Everybody's good, nobody's bad. Now, so also a person has to be very careful not to make other people upset or sad because he wants to do Avodat Hashem. It's Sefer Netivot Or. It's the famous story from, again, if you go back to the father of Musar, Rabbi Salanter. Rabbi Salanter tells over a story. The story is known. That when he was younger, on Erev Yom Kippur, he was going to the Beit Midrash to pray Arvit there. And he sees that one of the people in town who was known to be a great tzaddik, someone who was a Yerei Shamayim and everything, he sees him from far. He's happy because he had a very important question to ask of this person. And he gets closer, he says, wow, this person, he sees the fear of the day of judgment on him. As he gets closer, he sees he's crying. He has tears on his face. Really, really amazing. So Rav Sassanather approaches him and asks him his question. And the person, because he was like, they knew what Yom Kippur means. They really knew what Yom Kippur means and what's at stake on Yom Kippur. And that's why he was in this state of fear and trembling, and tears were coming out of him. So he was a very wise person. So he asked him this question. He didn't even answer. The person didn't even answer. He was very righteous. Rabbi Salanter said like this: when I passed by that person, I thought in my heart, what is it to me? Why should I suffer because this person is a God-fearing person? You want to be God-fearing? Chazak Baruch, beautiful. But when it comes, and yes, you're afraid of Yom Hadin, you're afraid of the Day of Judgment. But what does it have to do with me? When it comes to Ben Adam Lechavero, when it comes to like interpersonal relationships, you have an obligation to answer me in a very calm and a proper manner. That is a person's obligation. No matter what's going on in your heart, no matter what's going on between you and Hashem, when it comes to you and other people, you have no right. You have no right to behave in such a way. Right? There is a chiyuv of gemilut chasadim. There is an obligation of loving kindness. I don't care what's going on inside your head. I don't care what's going on, how much fear you have from the Day of Judgment. That's not the way you should be. Wow. There's many stories like that from Rabbi Salanter, but this is like a very famous one. Sefer Orchot Tzadikim writes that, again in Sha'ar HaSimcha, he writes, "V'yargil et libo lihyot sameach ksheyesh la'acherim tovot." A person must be in a habit of bringing joy to his heart when other people are having it good. When he hears or he sees that someone else is having a good thing coming to them, something good happens to them, he has to make it a habit to also become very happy. Uviyoter yismach bir'oto bnei adam hamachazrim al hamitzvot la'asor retzon haborei yitbarach. End of quote. He says he should even be more happy, very happy, when he sees people that are trying to do mitzvot, to do the will of Hashem Yitbarach. That should make him very happy. It should give him joy and happiness when he sees people are doing mitzvot, they're running to do mitzvot and everything. That should make him very happy. He says, look, a person that is not sameach b'chelko, a person that is not happy with his own lot, a person that, is not happy with his life, with whatever he has, he would have a very hard time being happy for other people. Because he's too busy always looking at what he is missing in life. It's always like seeing like, oh, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have that. He would not be able to be happy for other people. And to make matters worse, when he sees someone else having it good, all it does is he looks back at himself and says, oh, I wish I could also do that. I wish I could be also in a state of happiness. He's busy always reflecting back on himself. Why? Because inside he's burning. Inside he's not happy with what he has. When he's in that state of being, he would have a very hard time to be being happy for the other person. Rabbeinu Ovadia Bar Tenura in Pirkei Avot, where Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the Mishnah says, had 5 students, and he said he told each one, go find the right way of living, and each one came back and said, one said levto, one said ainto, one said shachento, so over there he explains what is ayin tova, what is a good eye. Says Rabbeinu Ovadia Bar Tenura, mistapek b'ma sheyesh lo. Ayin tova means he's happy, he's good, he's content with what he has. Ve'eino mevakesh devarim yeterim. Doesn't look for extra things. Then he writes his magical word. The person who has an ayin tova, ve'eino mekaneh kesheroeh sheyesh lachavero yoter mimenu. And he is not jealous when he sees that someone else has more than him. This is an ayin tova. What does that mean? He says, only if a person is happy with what he has, then he could be happy about the success of the other person and won't be jealous of him. That's it. You want the recipe? The recipe is when a person is able not to be jealous at other people's success. Not only that, he's happy about the other person's success, then he has achieved ayin tova. Chas v'shalom, that a person should be happy if someone else fails, right? Shlomo HaMelech says, "Binfol oyevecha al tismach." When your enemy falls, do not rejoice. Orchot Tzadikim writes, again in the Sha'ar HaSimcha, he says a person has to be happy, right? In the Sha'ar of Happiness, he says a person should not be happy when he has it good, and that is a downfall of someone else. Right? That means that when someone else is having it bad, and as a result you're having it good, something good is happening to you, that shouldn't make you happy. He says, for example, a person that has grain, he shouldn't be happy if out there is a drought and food is very expensive and people can't afford it, right? Because for him it's a good thing, but it shouldn't make him happy that other people are suffering as a result of that same thing. He says also a person shouldn't be happy someone dies, but he's getting a good inheritance, right? Right. He says, this is all from the Orchot Tzadikim, right? He says a person should not be happy about the failure or loss of anyone else, right? Just because he is benefiting from it. He says, and on this the Torah says, "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." You have to love the other fellow like yourself. He says, unfortunately, there are people that they find joy and happiness in the disgrace and in the embarrassment of other people, right? Although it's so good, so nice to be happy, right? But chas v'shalom, to be happy at the expense of someone else's disgrace. Perfect example is some of these comedians. They get up there and they start putting people in the audience down, or other people, known people. They put them down, and they get a bunch of cheap laughs. That's not simcha. That's not simcha at all. Not at all. That's avon. That's a big avera. That's not considered simcha. Oh, wait a minute, they're all laughing, everybody's having, that's cheap laugh, That's not simcha. Simcha has to come from within, from a feeling of simcha, from the feeling of emunah and in Hashem. And like we explained up to now. The Gemara says, famous early Amorah, his name was Bar Kapara. Bar Kapara, not Kapara, Kapara I should say. That was his name. He was a Talmid of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. And he was always making Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi happy. Gemara in the Derim says he was always making Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi happy, But then, different place in the Gemara, it says when Bar Kapara saw a student that he was like making fun of someone else because he made a mistake in halakha, he got angry at him. Gemara Masachet Brachot says he got angry at him. Wait a minute, you're such a happy person. Yeah, happy, not at the expense of anyone else, right? Because there is no room for happiness when someone else's honor and respect is hurt. That's not a means of being happy by putting down someone else. By usually people that have an inferiority complex, they get happy by putting other people down because that gives them a feeling of they're better, and that's not happiness. Also, another thing that we have to be careful is the happiness and joy of kalut rosh. Kalut rosh literally means being lightheadedness. It says in Gemara, one pasuk says by Shlomo Melech that v'shibachti ani et hasimcha, I praised happiness, and in the other pasuk in Kohelet it says ul simcha ma ze oseh, what's all this happiness, right? So the Gemara says, what's going on? Shlomo Melech, make up your mind. Is happiness good or bad? It says the Gemara, kam besimcha shel mitzvah. One is talking about simcha of mitzvah. The other one is simcha she'ena shel mitzvah. What does that mean? Any simcha that is a result of having hakarat tov to Hashem, being thankful to Hashem, or performing a mitzvah, all these things, or making other people happy, that's a true simcha. That's called the simcha shel mitzvah. But if it's like, just lightheadedness, the things that are not really true simcha, these things, Shlomo Melech says, ul simcha, ma ze oseh. B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be able to grow and be able to work and serve Hashem in the midah of simcha. And in this zechut, we should be zochet to come to the true, complete simcha, like it says, az yimale sachok pinu, that is when our mouth will be filled with laughter, ulshonenu rina, and our tongue will be singing songs of joy. As yomru bagoyim, higdil Hashem la'asot yemeret. Then all the nations will say that Hashem did such a great things with these people. That's the time of Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'mehera b'yamenu, amen. We are done with the Olam HaSimcha. You're all happy now. That's it. Magic happiness. B'ezrat Hashem, Olam HaGevurah is next. How to be strong, right? So start working out, and we'll be strong the way Chachamim want us to be. All right. Halachot of Kashrut.
I have one question, please.
In Halachot of Kashrut?
No, this.
Oh.
The one before. This guy, he's such a good man and everything. He's my friend. He's such a good man, but then when I talk and, he doesn't like what I talk, he says that I go on and on, but he doesn't let me finish. He yells at me. I don't like that. How can I tell him? He does everything, but then at the end, he ruins everything. He does everything good. He does lots of simcha and everything. But then when he yells at me because he doesn't let me finish my view, my point of view in it, he says, you just go on and on and on. I'm like, okay, but let me finish my words, and then you yell at me. He just shocks me. I just cannot get used to this. What can I tell him? He's such a stubborn man, and he's Persian old.
Good luck. Good luck. All right. So last time, everyone is tested on Hanan, right? Right? Now I think we heard enough of that. Let's move on. Okay. We have a meat pot. Okay, meat pot, which is a ben yomo. What is the expression of ben yomo? Used within 24 hours. Ben yomo, that means it's still young. It's only a day old, right? That means it was used for cooking hot meat meal. Let's say it's a pan, and you made beef burgers in the pan. Okay, so perfectly meat pan, and he washed it, right? And by mistake, he heated his macaroni and cheese in this pan. Okay, what do? Is the macaroni and cheese allowed?
Yes.
No, we said because it's within a day, and the ta'am, the taste of the meat is still great, and it's still in the pot, and it gave taste to the mac and cheese, right? So you have the good taste, and it got absorbed into the meat, into the milk dish. Okay, but if it's not ben yomo, if
So the food is you can't eat it, and the
you can't
pot
eat it,
is
and the
the
pot for
hagala?
sure you have to do hagala because they have a meat and milk mixture in your pot. But if it's not ben yomo, no ben yomo, that means 24 hours already passed. Can you eat the mac and cheese?
Yes.
Why? Yes. Why is that? Because the ta'am, the taste that was it is pagum. It's no longer a good taste. It's a horrible taste, right? And it doesn't give a good taste into the milk, and therefore the food could be eaten. The pot itself now, though, has to do hagala. Why is that? Because there is a mixture of meat and milk at the end of the day in this pot. Okay. If by mistake, again, they made a meat dish in a meat dish, they made a milk dish. The same scenario, but he's not sure. Did 24 hours pass since last time or not? There, we could be mekel, right? Especially if for sure a night has passed, we could be mekel. Don't try it at home, right?
How did they know 24 hours passed in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu? I mean, he's like...
They could no. Those days they could tell time. Like they knew. Like in an hour was sunset, or it's like you look at the sun, the position of the sun. They could tell. Like when when it is. Just don't hope for clouds, right?
Is it 24 hours since it was washed, or 24 hours since
It was used since it was used
Like-
with hot with heat. And that's when the isur came in. If a person
So what if it's not... can you do it not by mistake?
if a person purposely, I was just about to say, purposely did it, right? Even if 24 hours has passed, for sure. Like, and he heated the thing, then it is asur. It is asur to eat that meal. This is straight up maran, right? We can't. This is all, if it was done by mistake, then we say that when a person does it on purpose, then it's a kanas, and it's like a fine that he has to do, and it's not a recommended thing. Now, one thing that does come up a lot is containers. Okay, you have a container that you kept your milk, cheese, right? You put the cheese in a container, and they're all cold, right? But if they stayed in there for 24 hours, we have a concept of kavush. Kavush means it's pickled, right? So some say that being that this thing is in this container, the cheese, even though cold, we're talking about cold, cheese, macaroni and cheese, let's say milk, whatever it is, yogurt, you have it in the container. If it sat there for 24 hours, right, then don't use this container later, not at the same time, later for soup, for a meat soup. Why? Because this container now, because the thing remained there for 24 hours, it's considered kavush, and this sort of gets a halakha of a dairy vessel. So don't put a chicken soup or beef soup in that same container for a duration of a long time.
Is it plastic or glass?
No.
Both. Both.
Glass?
Glass is definitely less. No, glass we say it doesn't absorb anything. I'm sorry, I take that back. Glass, we're not even talking about. Right? Metal, plastic, these other things, yeah, they do absorb. And we do consider, according to that opinion, that it's kavush, that it's pickled, that it's, so look, you have a container, and you left cheese in it for 24 hours, for 2 3 days, and then you wash it off and everything, and then you forgot. You take the soup and you put it in the microwave, and you wanna heat it up, and you heated it up. Now you come, oh no, this is what I had the cheese in last week. What do I do? The halacha is you could be mekel. That the chicken soup is fine because it's only according to one opinion that we say it's kavush. You didn't cook any dairy in it. It just held the cheese in it for over 24 hours, let's say. But it wasn't cooked or anything. So the whole thing was questionable. We're just trying to stay away from it. Don't do it lachatachila, but if you did it, then we say it's mutar to eat it.
Well, what happens to the container?
The container is probably, I would consider it a meat container now that he used the microwave. That's it.
If it's plastic.
Right.
Right. Now, it is important that we should have two separate sets of knives. Okay, one for meat and one for milk, right? And a person should not cut meat with the same knife that he cut cheese, right? Or don't cut cheese with the same knife that you cut meat with, right? Now, that said, what do we consider a dairy knife? Dairy knife is a knife that was used with something which was dairy, and it was yad soledet, right? That means it's so hot that you can't eat that item, and that is what you cut with the knife. Then the knife absorbs the food into it. Let's say he cut a very hot cheesecake. He cut a slice of pizza, lasagna. But if a person used the knife to smear cream cheese onto the bread or butter onto the bread, that doesn't make it a dairy knife, right? Such a knife, if it's washed and everything, you look at it, it's clean and good, and then by mistake they cut meat with that knife, it is mutar to eat the knife, because that's not the knife. Who's gonna eat the knife? Here, thank you. Is mutar to eat the meat. Just making sure everybody's listening, right? It is mutar in that case to eat the food because it's not a dairy knife. And the same thing, the opposite, right? You have a knife which was used only with hot meat. Like you had a piece of steak that was very hot, right, on the grill, and he cut, or schnitzel, right? He cuts it, right? That's when this knife becomes a meat knife. But if you cut a cold piece of schnitzel, right, that's not a meat knife, right? And let's say you have such a knife, you use it for cutting a cold piece of meat, cut cold cuts with it, right? And now it's washed and everything. By mistake, he cut cheese with it. It's mutar to eat the cheese. Right. Now, for bread, it is better to have a special knife. It's better to have a set aside a knife for bread, right? Meikaradin, really halachically, it's fine. You could cut your bread with a dairy knife. Dairy, I mean, as in real dairy, or a meat knife, as in real meat knife, and it's fine. It's not going to make it asur, right? And you could have that bread with milk or with meat. Either way, it's not a problem. Just as long as you know that the knife is clean, that's fine. Better if a person could to have a separate knife, right? Just for the fruit, let's say, or for the bread. That would make life easier.